evening, everyone. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Ann Arbor. Please turn to number 360 in the gray hymnal, which I had forgotten to bring. It's not on. Testing? Is my mic on now?
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ann Arbor, Michigan, on this first Sunday of the summer schedule. Well done, all of you that remembered the change to one service. We are so glad to see you. Generations of seekers have embraced the liberal religious traditions of our beloved community since 1865, bearing witness to injustice and leaving a legacy of love and action that we will honor for all of our days. My name is Stella Anderson, and I serve this congregation as the Director of Spiritual Growth and Development. Joining me this morning are the Reverend Manish Mishra-Marzetti, our Senior Minister, lay worship leaders Holly Ferrise and Reece, song leader Kristin LeSueur, Allison Halerz, our Pianist-in-Residence, and Mike Halerz, our Technology Consultant. Whether you're here in person, joining us on the live stream, or watching on demand, know in your hearts that all of you matter. And whether you've come back again and again, or this is your first time with us, we see you in your wholeness, and we love you just as you are. For the first-timers among us, you are warmly invited to attend a newcomer welcome right after the service in the Jackson Chapel, which is just past the social hall on the right, across from the wall of name tags. Please take a few minutes also to fill out our newcomer survey located on our website at UUAA.org/newcomersurvey, so we can find ways for you to get to know us and the work that we do. To all of you, may your experience this morning renew your spirit. Next Saturday, June 3rd, is our congregation's annual Goods and Services Auction, the first in 4 years, right here at the UUAA from 4 to 7 p.m. The folks who are organizing the auction are hoping that you'll stop by their table by the main entry doors after the service today, where you can buy tickets, volunteer, or donate an item or event. The event is both an important fundraiser and a community builder, so please buy your tickets today. And moving ahead to the following morning, next Sunday, June 4th, is our annual spring congregational meeting, which will take place entirely on Zoom. The event begins at 10:30 a.m. with a 30-minute pre-recorded worship service leading right into the meeting. You must pre-register to receive the Zoom link, and you can do so via our website or in the weekly news or SGD bulletin. And we hope to see all of you there. And our final announcement is for those of you who are interested in joining Reverend Manish for the October 2023 Living Legacy Pilgrimage to Mississippi and Tennessee. There will be a Zoom-only informational session specifically for this congregational trip on Wednesday, May 31st at 6:30 p.m. You can find more information and the Zoom link on our website and in the weekly news. This morning, as we explore what rest and renewal means for us as individuals and as a community, I invite you into a brief visualization, a meditative moment alongside me. Find a position that helps you feel relaxed but alert. Listen to your body and honor what it needs. Close your eyes and let your hands rest calmly on your knees or by your side. Take a deep breath in and a long breath out. Let your whole body relax. Feel the air as you take another deep breath in and let another long breath out. Now, let a word come into your mind that says how you want to feel today. It could be a word like joyful, kind, friendly, or curious. It could be a word like safe, peaceful, gentle, or brave. Choose the word that best describes how you want to feel. Hold it in your mind. As you breathe in, fill yourself up with the feeling you want. And as you breathe out, send this feeling out into the world. Feel how you want to be today. Take another deep breath in and let a long breath out. And you may open your eyes. You are ready for this day. Do you feel relaxed, rested, renewed? Hold on to that feeling. Let it surround you and embrace you. We are gathered for worship.
Good morning. I am Reece, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am an active member of the UUAA community of writers, fondly known as COW, and recently started participating in the Lay Worship Leaders Program. The official symbol of the Unitarian Universalism is a flaming chalice. We light a flaming chalice in worship to create a reverent space for reflection, prayer, meditation, and song. This Sunday, Kristin LeSueur will join us in physically lighting our community's chalice. As we light our chalice in the sanctuary this morning, we invite our online community members to light your own chalice at home. As you do so, you may choose to share in the chat. The chalice is lit in Ypsilanti, Hungary. Maybe the chalice is lit outside on your patio. In the spirit of community and in welcome, let us now join together in these familiar words as our chalice is lit. We light this chalice for the light of truth. We light this chalice for the warmth of love. We light this chalice for the energy of action. We light this chalice for the harmony of peace. Thank you, Kristin. Another way we are reminded of our commitment to radical welcoming with the spirit of joy and affirmation are the words of our community's covenant. Please join me as we say the words of our covenant together. The spirit of this church is love, and service is its law. This is our covenant with each other, to dwell together in peace, to search for truth in love, and to help one another.
Hi, good morning. I'm Holly Ferrise. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I serve this congregation as a member of the Lay Worship Leaders Program and with Kaleidoscope, True Hope, Radical Welcome, and as an SGD teacher with the OWL program. Many of us, particularly some of us recovering control freaks and perfectionists, often spend a good amount of time and or emotional energy worrying about or outright trying to influence or change the behaviors of those around us instead of focusing internally on our own needs, boundaries, or reactions. Today's Time for All Ages tells the story of one little egg's journey to learning that focusing inward can lead to greater peace, better mental health and relationships, and an intact shell. This is The Good Egg by Jory John and Pete Oswald. Oh, hello. I was just rescuing this cat. Know why? Because I'm a good egg. A very good egg. It's true. I do all kinds of good things, like I'll carry your groceries, I'll water your plants, I'll change your tires, I'll paint your house. If you need any help whatsoever, I'm your egg. I've always been a good egg. It's been this way from the start, even in my earliest days, back at the store. There were a dozen of us, living together under one recycled roof. There was Meg, and Peg, and Greg, and Clegg, and Shell, and Shelley, and Sheldon, and Shelby, and Egbert, and Frank, and other Frank. The other 11 eggs weren't on their best behavior. They weren't exactly good. They ignored their bedtimes, they threw tantrums, they cried for no reason, they broke their stuff on purpose. Meanwhile, I tried to take charge. I tried to fix their bad behavior. I tried to keep the peace, because I was a good egg. A very good egg. Nobody seemed to care, though. Every night, I was exhausted. My head felt scrambled. Then one fateful morning, I noticed some cracks in my shell. They were everywhere. My doctor said it was from all the pressure I was putting on myself, the pressure of making sure everybody was as good as me. I was cracking up, literally. Something had to change. I'd had enough. I told Meg and Peg and Greg and Clegg and Shell and Shelley and Sheldon and Shelby and Egbert and Frank and other Frank that I was leaving. I can't be the only good egg in a bad carton, I said. Blah, 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 they replied. I left that night. I wandered from town to town. The hours became days, the days became weeks. I lost track of time. I was alone. Out there on the road under the stars, I really tried to focus on myself and what I needed. I took walks. I read books. I floated in the river. I wrote in my journal. I found simple moments to be quiet. I breathed in, I breathed out. I even started painting. For once, I found time for me. And guess what? Little by little, the cracks in my shell started to heal. My head no longer felt scrambled. I started to feel like myself again. So, I made a big decision. I'm returning to my old carton and my friends. Besides, I'm kind of lonely out here. This time, I know what I need to do. I'll try not to worry so much. I'll be good to my fellow eggs while also being good to myself. Here we go. Everybody missed me. I missed them too. Hello, Meg. Howdy, Peg. Hey, Greg. Greetings, Clegg. What's up, Shell? Aloha, Shelly. Hey-o, Sheldon. Hi, Shelby. Good day, Egbert. What's happening, Frank? Howdy do, other Frank. Sure, every once in a while, somebody's still a little bit bad, but it's not like before. Here's what I realized. The other eggs aren't perfect, and I don't have to be either. I'm okay with that. Yep, the old carton is back together. We're a solid dozen again. It's good to be home. The end.
Holly, thank you for leading us in our time for all ages and that important reminder of how we each need time to find ourselves, to discover who we are and who we're becoming, even as we weave our journeys in and out of community, in and out of relationship and connection with others. All the good work in our community of coming together week after week for the purposes of renewal and inspiration, of working in Washtenaw County and beyond for the work of nurturing and building justice, all of that and so much more is brought alive through our community's generous financial donations. Everything that we are and that we are able to do is because of our community's support for one another and for the ministries of this congregation. In just a few moments, the ushers will come down the sides of the aisles with baskets. You're welcome to contribute as you're able through check or money donations. If you'd like to give electronically, whether you're joining us online or here in person, you can do so by going to uuaa.org/giving, or you can text UUAA to 73256. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received. I'd invite the ushers to bring the offering forward, and as they do, I'd invite you to rise in body or spirit as we join together in dedicating this week's offering. Would you join your hearts and your voices as we offer our familiar words of dedication? To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. Please be seated.
I begin with an excerpt from Tricia Hersey's excellent book, Rest is Resistance, a Manifesto. The doors of the Knapp Temple are open. Won't you come? This is an invitation for weary souls to rest. This is a resistance. This is a protest. This is a counter-narrative to the lie that we all aren't doing enough. We are enough. This is a counter-narrative to the lie that our worth is tied to the grind of capitalism and the lie of white supremacy. You are enough simply by being alive. Thank you for living. Thank you for resisting. Thank you for creating. Thank you for dreaming. Thank you for resting. My to-do list is long. Some days it feels like for every item I check off, I add at least 3 more. Laundry, work, packing lunches, school stuff, appointments, filling out forms, play dates, chores, grocery shopping, piano lessons, house projects, meal planning, discipline, dishes, bedtime routines, etc., etc., etc. And this time of year, add in concerts, graduation parties, teacher gifts, ice cream socials, sunscreen and bug spray, mowing the lawn, summer plans, swim lessons. Tasks, tasks, and more tasks. And this doesn't even include all of the emotional needs of the people that we love. And I know, and I need to name, that my list reflects a very privileged existence. So many families are dealing with serious financial struggles or health issues, children with special needs, not to mention oppression and bigotry and mental health challenges and food insecurity. We all have long lists. And we also carry the weight of national and global challenges like natural disasters, domestic extremism, pandemics, debt ceilings, and gun violence. We are relentlessly busy and preoccupied and worried and stretched thin. Are you tired? I'm tired. If someone asks you how you are, how often do you answer, I'm tired? Now, did anyone notice what was missing from my list? Naps. Sleep. Joy. Rest. Relaxation. Self-care. Why didn't I have that on my list? It wasn't even at the bottom of the list. It wasn't on the list at all. Why isn't rest on your list? Or any of those things that we do for ourselves? Why don't we prioritize restorative practices? Why is rest a reward for getting everything else done, and sometimes not even then? Why do we think we need to wait until we're running on fumes before we let ourselves take even a moment to recharge? As author Jenny Odell writes, "Nothing is harder to do than nothing." Even when I was a kid, I spent so much of my energy worrying about everyone else around me. That constant mind loop of thoughts and worries kept me up at night, literally, and I am a lifelong insomniac because of it. And it's taken me a lifetime to understand that giving everything I have, all of my attention and energy, to everyone but myself has consequences. And not just for me, but for all the people that I have spent all of that time caring for. How can I be my best self for them when I'm not my best self? It's a vicious cycle. And this is why the miraculous, radical idea that rest is resistance spoke so deeply to me. How do we let go of this very American compulsion to be constantly productive, to do and do and do? What about being? Rest looks different for all of us. For me, a committed introvert, it's time alone. Maybe a long walk with my dog, a podcast episode, a 10-minute breathing meditation, a nap. I love naps. Oh, and speaking of naps, another religious educator I know gave me permission to share something that she posted on Facebook. Naps don't have to mean sleeping. Naps are rests from expectations. My 20-minute doom scroll refreshes me just as much as your cat nap. And I do love a good doom scroll. Now, this one might sound kind of weird, but one thing I do that renews me, especially on a particularly difficult day or after a sleepless night, is actually getting myself dressed up in nicer clothes, putting on some makeup and jewelry, and doing my hair. Some people can't wait to take all of that stuff off. But for me, it makes me feel more human and more myself, which is why I'm not wearing pajamas today. But I do love to see all the kids that do, or that did wear them today. Maybe you like to spend time in the garden, or you read a chapter of a book, or you have lunch with an old friend, or you swing on the swings. Whatever feeds you, that's rest. Because it's for you and it's about you. Because it renews you, and not just because you need the energy to go back to doing for others, back to that to-do list. To recharge so that you can tackle that to-do list with enthusiasm unknown to mankind, as Jim Harbaugh would say. But for its own sake, because we are human, and we are divine, and we deserve rest. As Tricia Hersey writes, "May the ground underneath hold us, and if we must collapse, may a soft pillow be there."
Please remain seated and turn to number 1011 in the teal hymnal. We'll sing this all together once through, and then we'll break into a round. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are,
Rest and restoration. What does that look and mean to us in this time of liminality, this time of in-betweenness that we're in? I want to share a little bit more about that as we continue in reflection. One of the books, actually, the book that Stella mentioned, and another one found their ways to me as gifts this past year. Both were just published in the past year. One is Rest is Resistance by Mishra-Marzetti. The other is Pause, Rest, and Be by Octavia Rahim. The fact that both of these were gifted to me in the past year made me wonder. What are others noticing? Or is the universe inviting me to think more about rest? I don't know. But these are lovely resources for us. And I'd like to start out by sharing a quote from Mishra-Marzetti's book, Rest is Resistance. It might remind you of the lives we were living before the pandemic started. She writes, "Before I decided to experiment with what rest could do for my physical and spiritual body, I was pushing myself to the limit every day. I was totally unaware that I was doing this because of a lifelong brainwashing at the hands of capitalism. I was simply doing what everyone around me was doing. I was simply trying to pay bills, go to school, take care of my child, navigate the world in a way that felt like survival. I had no outside perspective on how this machine-level pace was exhausting me. Everyone around me was at this pace. All the demands of my job, classes, friends, and family resided in a cycle of constant labor. Silence and stillness only came when I could finally crawl into bed after a 15-hour day of classes, work, and parenting." Many of our lives were moving in this kind of a pace prior to 2020. But then March and April of 2020 happened. The pandemic forced upon us as a people shutdowns and slowdowns. Life was not what we had previously known. Slowing down, rest, and solitude were imposed on us whether we wanted it or not. And what was fascinating is that many of us discovered that we liked it. That not only could and would life go on, but that having time for our inner longings felt good, right, and even meaningful. We discovered things like walks in nature, not as a break, but as a source of joy. Writing poetry from a place of creativity and love for the art. Long conversations on Zoom or in backyards with neighbors and friends that we weren't connecting with quite as deeply or as often. Discovering the meaning in these small shifts, we then began to re-examine our routines and began dropping activities and commitments that weren't feeding our hearts and spirits. This was a very common experience in 2020, 2021, and into 22. I did this too. An inventory of all the things I was doing and which ones did I actually want to continue, given that I can see the agency that I've always had all along. Which ones did I want to continue and which ones did I want to discard? For this, in service to creating more capacity and spaciousness for some of the things that I had discovered were meaningful. Having tasted that freedom that pandemic shutdowns and slowdowns afforded us, we're now in this liminal space, this in-between space, where all the routines that we were previously engaged in pre-pandemic are possible to re-engage with, but we're bringing agency and choice and reflection to all of that. We're choosing what we want to build into our life now as we continue moving forward with greater intentionality. I want to share with you a little of what Octavia Rahim has to say about being in this kind of liminality, this in-betweenness of we're still discerning, figuring out, reflecting what we want, how we want our lives to look. We're not fully arrived, but we're also not where we were prior. And her writing is just gorgeous. So I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs from her. This is from Rest, Pause, and Be. She writes, "When now is not an end or a beginning, it is the middle of a road. This place is not to be confused with the halfway point because our destination is concealed and we don't know how far we have come or how far we have to go. Once we've entered this portal that exists between no longer and not yet, a liminal space, an initiation is underway. This is a veiled place where the world we thought we knew vanishes, and there is nothing on the horizon because the horizon has been swallowed by time, hidden, mysterious, unknown, of cosmic proportions." And this is just beautiful. "Like caterpillars making their way toward their cocoon, we have crawled our way through endings, yet it is unclear what we are becoming. Caterpillars must enter a liminal space to grow their wings. In that space, they literally dissolve into goop. In that soup of slime, there are cells that will become the magnificent thing that kisses flowers in bloom, a butterfly. Those cells are called imaginal cells. The mystery of imaginal cells is that they are not assigned to anything in advance. They may become an eye, a wing, an antenna. What every single cell will become cannot be determined within the caterpillar. It must disintegrate first. It must completely break down and become unrecognizable to itself and the world. Between endings and beginnings, our old self vanishes." Her writing is just so beautiful, so poetic. Imaginal cells. I'd never heard this concept before. I looked it up. It's actually what these cells are called. They are cells that imagine their way into a new existence. They guide the caterpillar through the liminal space, through the time of in-betweenness. Every time we choose that which we experience as restorative, rejuvenating, restful, we create the opportunity for liminal spaces in which we can imagine our way into new ways of being, into becoming more fully ourselves. Now, here's the interesting thing about engaging in practices that are restorative, rejuvenating, restful. They're like spiritual practices, and you've hopefully heard me speak at least a few times about the nature of spiritual practice and how the things that ground us and center us in our truest self are different for each and every one of us. There is not one shoe that fits everybody. For some of us, a spiritual practice might be meditation. For others, it might be hiking. For others, it might be artistry or singing. In a similar way, there is no single shoe that fits all of us when it comes to practices that are restorative or rejuvenating. What resonates with any one of us can take time and experimentation to figure out. I, for one, don't need a nap ministry, although this is something Trisha Hersey has actually helped create. There is such a thing called a nap ministry. And if it is for you, it exists. And I encourage you to gain that and claim that as a practice that works for you. So this is a subject that actually took me some time to kind of wrap my head around, because I get folks who look at my life from the outside and they see me constantly engaged in something. It can look like busyness, but it's not busyness, not always. There's another book that came to me this week. This one is excellent as well. It's Harvard Business Review's small volume on mental toughness. It's from 2018. And I was reading articles about leadership in this, and HBR's got excellent resources on leadership. The most effective leaders are ones who figure out what they need for restoration and renewal and pursue it as passionately as they pursue their other life goals, be they professional or personal. Rest, renewal, play is pursued as passionately by the most effective leaders as professional or personal goals. And it doesn't look the same for everybody. So for some, it might mean a 2-week vacation. For some, it might mean a 10-minute nap. For some, it might mean a 5-minute walk outside in the yard. All of these things can be renewing. And none of those things are quite what I do for my own sense of renewal. I love learning. I study Hindi and Urdu for fun. Last summer on my vacation, I planned out in detail the year-long civil rights seminar that I've been leading this year, and I loved every minute of it. It was highly restorative and rejuvenating for me. I love working on book projects, creative things that are expressions of my heart and soul that I wouldn't otherwise engage in. I write poetry on my vacation during my vacation time. I go hiking. I love reading nonfiction and history and sci-fi. I engage in boxing. Those are all active and engaged. And at times I get asked by folks like, how do you do all the things that you do? Well, it might be because for me, restoration and rejuvenation are these activities, are these things that engage my body, my heart, my mind, my spirit. They bring me alive. They don't deplete me. I feel energized and inspired, ready to return to engaging with others and with community. So I share this by way of saying that it's not going to be the same for all of us. There are those of us that need a nap, and a good nap is a great thing sometimes. There are others who are like me who love to learn and be active and experience the planet we're living on. Seek out, discover, and commit yourself to those practices that will restore you, because you will be a more effective, engaged, enlivened you when you do so. And when we find those right practices and regularly turn to them, these imaginal opportunities allow our souls to fly like a butterfly, newly emerging from its chrysalis. It's in this way, restored, invigorated, enlivened, there is no challenge that we are not up for, individually and then collectively as a community. We can even turn the world around if we need to.
All right, please turn to 1074 in the teal hymnal. Rise in body or spirit. Let's sing 1074.
Living
standing, if you will, for our benediction. As we continue through this weekend, a weekend that marks the traditional start of the summer season, a time dedicated often to renewal and rest and reconnecting with ourselves and with others, take heart and take time in knowing who you are and what fills and restores your soul, your energy, your spirit. Seek those things out fervently, with passion, because the more you are your full and best self, the more good you can do in this world for others who you love, for others in community, for this wider world that needs us. May you each be your best self in all that you do, all that you embody and say, until we are together again. Go in love, go in peace. Amen.